Hey, Senator, we just had Boone Pickens on, and he was talking about how he thinks that we need a better energy plan in America, largely because of, he was pointing out what's happening in Ukraine right now. He'd been talking about for a long time how Russia controls the natural gas, and as a result, Europe is really beholden to them on a lot of levels. I know you're on the Energy Committee. What do you think that we could or should see in some sort of a national energy policy here?
No, I think Boone Pickens is exactly right. And so without the energy boom, without this revolution in being able to access the shale gas and oil, we'd be in a lot worse shape than we are. But we could be doing much better. As you know, we can do a lot more offshore on the outer continental shelf. We can do much more on public lands. We can do much more in terms of speeding up permitting. We're going to make a hearing on that today, and that's one of the things that we want to do with this Senate Republican Jobs Plan, is to speed up permitting to get more energy projects going. And by the way, that includes oil and gas, but also renewables, because they have the same problem with permitting. So I think he's right. There's a lot more we can do in terms of energy, specifically on exporting LNG. I think he's right. I think that would help. This is taking these amazing resources we have. It's probably the one country in the world that is actually, expanding our production in oil, gas, and probably have the largest reserves of natural gas in the world now that's accessible. So I think that makes sense. The other thing about the Ukraine that's interesting, since you raised it, about 50% of their electricity comes from the nuclear side, and they get all of their enriched uranium from Russia. So one thing we do have in this country is the ability to enrich uranium and also to provide that to the Ukraine so they are not dependent on Russia. That's something that I'm pushing. So it's not just natural gas for Ukraine. It also has to do with ensuring that they have a source of fuel for their nuclear power.
50% of their power comes from nuclear?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
The Europeans have backed off on that, which is one reason the Europeans are more and more dependent, particularly the Germans, on the Russians. But the United States can play a role here in, helping to provide some of the energy that helps to diffuse some of these crises like Ukraine, but also helps to keep the price of energy down and helps grow the global economy, which helps us here in America.
The markets have kind of written off Crimea. They think it's an end game at this point, that's gone. Do you think that's an accurate perception?
Gosh, I hope not. I mean, I think the international community needs to stand up and isolate Russia for what is a military invasion of a sovereign country. And, I don't think we ought to give up.